Chapter 8, Development of Emotions. In the beginning there was the Big Bang. Something explosive brought us into creation. After that, matter and particles evolved, but first, there was the major event. In the Bible, we are told that there was chaos and confusion. I often wonder if our active procreation is generally associated with one of the most intense emotions that we may feel. I wonder if we can compare this with the beginning of creation. I may be sounding whimsical, but in our very beginning, which we have to say is at birth, we are surrounded by nothing but emotions. Picking my way through the thread of a double entendre and a guffaw, I believe we came into being with the emotional Big Bang of procreation. As a medical student, I was astounded by the miracle we discover when studying embryology. The development of the human child is nothing short of a miracle. So many things can go wrong, and yet, they don't in the vast number of cases. This, in itself, is a miracle. I don't feel that the vast majority of readers will want to go down this path. I am here for the reader. David would have scoffed and asked if I had become a DOS, Hebrew slang for the zealots. If I have, I am the first lover of non-kosher food. But, creation is a miracle. Let's leave it at that, it's your choice. In the words of Morpheus in the movie, The Matrix, I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it. I think we should leave science fiction behind us and try going a little further. A baby is born. It plunges into a blinding spectrum of emotions. It has no way of knowing what they are. Imagine yourself being the baby Clark Kent, launched in a spaceship alone, rocketing through the stratosphere. Light and sound impinge on Clark and on you, for the first time. You are no longer floating in a warm bath, being fed through an umbilical cord. For the first time, the fetus feels more than changes in temperature and may be aware that there is something out there. Can you imagine the terror and overwhelming sensation that this newborn child is feeling? If we were placed in a similar situation at any other time than at birth, we would probably not be able to function. I would be frozen in horror. But, our newly born baby does develop and does function and does the most amazing things in the next 20 years. Of those, the first 5 years are incredibly amazing. The sensations of discomfort are discovered. More importantly, they are removed only to reappear. As we are discussing only feelings, we have no need to take into account temporal aspects. The newborn baby and the developing suckling infant have probably very little concept of time. Only when he does so, can thinking and thoughts become an entity which can develop. We will discuss this fully in the next chapter. An amazing thing happens. The child begins to learn and behave from what it has learned. This is the first time we are noticing behavior can spring directly from emotions. Without even being aware through the thought process of what is happening, the baby reacts. But, the newborn child soon learns that by crying, there is a very good chance that whatever is bothering him will be alleviated. The child's first act in life is to learn how to avoid discomfort. I want to stop here and point this out again. The first action, the primary action for many of us, is avoiding discomfort. Think of it as the strong force I mentioned before. The brakes in our car are more powerful than the accelerator. Avoidance of pain is the first thing we learn. A child does not know how to get up and decide what it would like to eat and prepare it. Life would be so much easier if the child could. The pleasure principle is far more sophisticated, far more complex, and like the accelerator in our car, it is the weak force. We will have to go a long way down the time scale of development to get anywhere near it. I cannot overemphasize how important this is, especially when we discuss therapy. Many of us think that avoiding discomfort is a synonym for pleasure. It most certainly is not. Another incredibly important thing happens. The child is aware that he is not providing the reason for the change. The child realizes, at some point in the first few months, that it has to do something or someone who will make the discomfort go away. The child discovers his mother. My editor asked, if after 9 months of unique intimate cohabiting in mother's womb, doesn't the child know its mother? I really do not know. We have no way, with today's technology, of knowing. But, that does not mean that it is not so. We come to another important point. As the child is developing and discovering an outside world which is the mother, another factor comes into play. Picture for a moment the statue of the Madonna and Child. Every Madonna and Child consist of one thing. That one thing is the beauty-fixed smile of the Madonna. This is not a religious concept attributed to the Virgin Mary. It is the building stone of something extremely important to the child's development, because the child is so dependent on the outside source and because the child is discovering that there is something else apart from the child itself. The consistency of the mother's care and love is essential, as the child starts out on its second most important journey. The first was being born, the second is the so-called separation individuation process when the child discovers its own existence and that of another. The goodness and wholeness of the mother is ingested along with the food she is giving the child. This may sound a dramatic oversimplification. Why should we think this is even so? I will be discussing this fully when we discuss development. But, we are sure that this stage in development, when the feeling of self is being developed for the first time, the sense of good me and bad me is very real. At this stage, the child is becoming the center of his own universe. We will discuss this again when we talk about thoughts and thinking. But, as the center of his own universe, he is omnipotent. Omnipotence evokes two new emotions. The omnipotent has a sense of elation, but far more important, the omnipotent can feel rage. This poorly defined organism has many sensations which are poorly defined, too. We have mentioned elation and rage. You can add the feeling of deep fear. The infant never knows when he is going to be looked after and have his needs taken care of. He is made aware of his complete helplessness. He is on the verge of destruction. This anxiety is the most primal form of anxiety. It is a different anxiety from one we will be discussing shortly. You will see the importance of these distinctions when we discuss the psychosis. But the primary anxiety is the anxiety that everything is about to end, and there is a catastrophe which is imminent. Compare this to the other kind of anxiety where there is a feeling of I'm going to do something wrong, but I don't know what it is. You can see slowly we are developing from now. The earth was formless and empty, darkness was over the surface of the deep, comparing it to our description of how emotions are developing. In the beginning, there was helplessness and fear. Slowly, emotions are developing along with our individuation separation process. Only when we individuate do we begin to sense far more intricate emotions, those of elation and rage. Before elation and rage, there was only fear and lack of fear. The first positive feeling that we begin to feel is that of elation. Soon the child is developing into a toddler. Fully aware of self, the toddler starts to venture away from the mother. The toddler is gaily looking for things. I used gaily advisedly and deliberately. Discovery is fun. At this stage, the toddler does not know what is guilt, nor does the toddler know what is this new form of anxiety. Remember, until now, the toddler had only one form of anxiety. The child only knew the existential anxiety he or she knew is the child was at the mercy of a world with no way of controlling it. The toddler is soon to find a new form of anxiety. At this point in time, the next emotion we have discovered is the emotional equivalent of curiosity. Curiosity unhindered is a positive attribute. I want to emphasize the first positive emotion felt is of elation and the second is of fulfilled curiosity. You can easily imagine that these emotions are far less intense than the fear and discontentment we feel as we develop. If the child can experience these new positive experiences, the child will reach the golden age. The child only has to overcome performance anxiety to achieve happiness. Let's think carefully about the toddler. Let's imagine ourselves as toddlers. As we go far away from the caring mother, two things are likely to happen. First of all, she may become anxious. We do not know why mother is anxious, but we do know she is, and we do not know why. If the anxiety is caused by our doing dangerous things, like sticking our fingers down electricity plug, we will begin to internalize and learn this is not a good thing to do. We begin to know that getting near an electric point will cause a negative feeling, fear. Now, notice something very important. We have used fear as sense one as an encompassing indescribable danger. It is a primary emotion with one explanation, it is an existential threat. We are now describing another kind of fear, a fear with a defined cognitive aspect. Because the toddler is now able to think, as you will see in the next chapter, he can ascribe a thought to this emotion which he calls fear. Fear is a feeling. Fear is a very interesting emotion because it can be both emotion and a feeling. In this respect, it is similar to elation. Why am I mentioning it now? Because you will see how important this is when we are describing mental illnesses. We are talking about the ideal situation. We toddlers have the ideal mother who has no emotions other than that of caring for us. Only a statue is a Madonna, and in real life, mothers have emotions of their own. We toddlers are very dependent, and mother's reaction is a true representation of our external world and not her internal one. We are reacting to mother's emotions and learning from them. As you will see later, if we cannot be sure that we have internalized the lesson or are still looking for cues, we will be behaving in a particular way which can lead to distress in later life. Much more of this will come later. The toddler is about to make a really incredible discovery. He is a magician. He can overcome all his fears and anxieties if he has his magic object. We all know how children feel better and omnipotent when they have their blanket, their favorite teddy bear, or even their pacifier. It is as if this object enables the child to proceed. It helps overcome fears which otherwise might have paralyzed him. This is the beginning of belief. It accompanies us in all our milestones. We incorporate the beliefs of those around us. As we increase our circle from our immediate family to our larger family to the neighborhood to our religion to our nation and even to our football club, we accept certain beliefs. I often feel that we psychiatrists have a very strong belief system. We really believe that there is a magic bullet and that we can cure patients when the reality is that we can only treat them. You can see the development of religion and attachments. You may be asking yourselves, what is the difference between a belief and a thought? A thought can be easily disproved. A belief cannot. A belief becomes part of us, and when we lose the belief, we fight to protect it, as if it was part of our very self. You will have heard the saying, if there is nothing worth dying for, there's nothing worth living for. Similarly, you will have heard in previous generations, death before dishonor. Beliefs have an evolutionary significance. They give us a reason to herd together and keep us united. I cannot overstress how important belief is and how far it extends into our lives and becomes part of the automatic pilot. We genuinely believe that certain classes of people should do certain things. It takes a revolution to change these things. At this time, we are seeing how the beliefs towards women have changed, and how a revolution had to occur for it to happen. I think that many of the things we do in our life are because we believe that is what is expected of us. It is not the same full-blown belief of a religion, but the belief that accompanies us throughout life are unquestioned and not easily put asunder. Expectations are the little brother of belief. We are riddled with expectations which become self-fulfilling. The next important milestone in our emotional development occurs at puberty. With the rush of hormones, our drives are colliding with socially acceptable behavior. I will be dealing with socially acceptable behavior when we discuss development of behavior and learning in Chapter 10. At this point in life, anxiety reappears, this time in the social mode and in what we call social anxieties. At this stage of life, anxieties or the causation are mixed. We will discuss this too. In my opinion, emotions and feelings in the healthy pre-teenager and onward will be synonymous. Not every emotion, as we have discussed in Automatic Everything, will have a cognitive representation. But, if we were to delve into our inner selves, we would be able to define and describe the emotion and then the feeling. We could go into emotions and feelings of the middle-aged and the elderly. I feel this is like gilding the lily. I don't want to bore you or encompass you with conjectures and facts which you can arrive at on your own and do it just as well as I can. I do think we have an internal biological clock, and I do think our clock marks out defined periods in time. It is as if we have a timetable in life. I maintain that one of the definitions of quality of life is when you are doing what you should be doing at that time of life and enjoying it. I have no proof whatsoever for this, and it is only personal observation, but it is verging on a belief. As in every other chapter in this book, I want you to peruse it and not learn it. You will hear the basic assumptions repeated, as they are being done now, once more when we develop an idea about therapy and prior to that what can go wrong. In other words, you will have heard or read the major concepts 4 times, by which time, you will be quite conversant with them and familiar with them. One of the most difficult concepts I had to grapple with is how to separate thoughts and feelings. This was particularly so when dealing with development. The time has come to go to the next chapter and discuss how thoughts and thinking develop.